1967, homosexual acts were illegal in England. And did you know, only last week, India decriminalised homosexuality in India? Today we're going to be speaking to Tris Reid-Smith, editor of Britain's first and only gay newspaper, to find out about what the charity Pride London is all about, where the gay rights movement stands now, and the role of media in the gay community. So Tris, thanks for joining us on Catch 21. Pride London is an LGBT charity that annually organises a fortnight of festival and parade through London to celebrate gay rights. But what is the actual aims and purposes behind the festival?
This is an event which goes back a very long time, and initially it started out as a protest, basically, against oppressive legislation against gay people. Over the more recent times, it's increasingly become a celebration. There's still an element of political protest to it, and an opportunity to change the hearts and minds of people in the country. But it's also an opportunity to celebrate gay culture, to celebrate the organisations which support our community. It's an opportunity to show how diverse our community is. It's an opportunity to have a bit of fun and actually later on all get pissed.
Pride London was actually criticised this year, and there was some controversy for it becoming depoliticised and losing a political agenda. What would you say on this?
I actually really think that that's nonsense. We're not campaigning so much for changes in law anymore. We mostly have the legislation we need as gay people in this country, but changing people's minds and their hearts and changing the culture of Britain is going to take a bit longer, and making a real difference to people's everyday lives is going to take longer. So I think from that point of view, the fact that you have 1 million people attending a festival in London is very important, and it sends out a very clear statement. Secondly, I went to events last week with David Cameron, possible future Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, who's the Mayor of London, and with the Prime Minister in Downing Street for the first time. I went to a garden party on the morning of Pride. Now, that's a level of political involvement which simply didn't exist 5 years ago. There are politicians on the main stage at the Pride rally after the march. I simply think that we are probably more political in a very real and life-changing way than we ever were 10 years ago.
There has been considerable progress in the gay rights movement, such as in 2005 with civil partnership being legalised. What now are the biggest issues in the gay rights movement?
Well, I don't think it would surprise any of your audience to know that homophobic bullying in schools, the use of the word gay as an insult, that's the most common form of bullying now in UK schools. So that shows that you can have the right legislation, but you don't necessarily change society overnight. And that requires not action so much by people in Westminster, though it does, but action by headmasters, teachers, kids in everyday life, in their schools, out on the streets. So that's the kind of thing we're changing. The other thing which is really significant is what's happening internationally. In this country, we are very lucky now, having fought very hard to have, fairly good legislative system for gay people. In the Middle East, though, people are being executed, being stoned to death, are being hung for being gay, just for that reason. And even in Iraq, which we now are supposed to have under a more friendly regime, the oppression has apparently got worse since Saddam Hussein was in power. Now it's worse than it was 5 years ago. So that's quite a big challenge for us. Something happened last week, though, which was really very exciting, and that is that India finally decriminalised homosexuality. It was against the law to be gay in India or to have gay sex in India until just last week, and the High Court did that. Now, that's significant for two reasons. I think that looking back in 20 years' time, we won't be talking about this being 40 years since the Stonewall riots in New York. We will be talking about the India thing, as being the single most important thing which has ever happened in the gay rights movement. Because literally overnight, 17% of the world's gay population, 17%, almost 1 in 5 of the world's gay population became legal overnight. Now that is huge. That's going to be life-changing for 50, 100 million people. And because India has a sphere of influence, I mean, it's going to knock on to the rest of Asia, to the rest of the Pacific area, maybe into Africa, maybe into other religious states. That is potentially going to be the kind of thing which could help to change the world.
Tris, you're editor of the Pink Paper, which has recently decided to focus all its energy online and suspend its print editions. How has the role of media changed in the gay community over the recent years?
I think it was a real shame that we had to stop printing the Pink Paper sort of tabloid-sized edition. It was a shame because I think that there's a big demand for a free newspaper, which is what we were. And I hope that when the economy improves and we get our advertising back, that we will be able to start printing again. That was the only reason we had to stop doing it. It wasn't because we didn't have people reading it. We had loads of people reading it. What we didn't have, though, was enough adverts to pay the bills. And unfortunately, it's a business. It's not. We can't run at a loss because otherwise we'll go completely bust. So what I'm hoping is we'll start that again. However, we have got this website, pinkpaper.com, which is updated several times a day with news stories. I mean, you know, we're doing 10 news stories a day roughly at the moment. And I think that there is a demand for immediate news. Because people have broadband and so on and are accessing it from their phones, then there is going to be a changing requirement. People expect things faster than they did before. But I think for the mix of what people want, so community news, political, international, fun stuff, entertainment. We do a lot of gossip and entertainment and celebrity-style stories as well as the serious stuff. And we do a lot of features. I think that hasn't changed very much. So I'm hoping that in the future people are going to want the immediacy, but they're also going to want to have the opportunity to read a newspaper on the bus or the train or whatever, going home or in the bar. And I think that will be an important aspect of what we do in the future as well.
So we found out about the new focuses of the gay movement, the messages behind Pride London and the role of media in the gay community. So for now, keep logging on to catch21.co.uk and leaving us your thoughts and comments.